So can everybody see my screen? I'm doing a screen share of transaction desk. So I just need everyone to let me know that they can see my agent dashboard of transaction desk. So either give me a thumbs up or put it in the chat that you can see my screen share, please. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Just want to make sure that we're all seeing the same thing. I appreciate you. All right, well, welcome everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everybody is having a really, really great end of the week. If you have open houses this weekend, good luck. Hope you find buyers. Hope you get some hot leads. Definitely, I am motivating you. You know what I mean? So happy Friday. Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm Jennifer. I'm the branch manager for the Orlando office here in downtown Orlando, O-Town. Woo woo. What's up? Anyway, so welcome everybody. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to be talking about the as-is purchase contract. All right, so for everybody who may not know, okay, which I'm going to treat everyone like they have no idea what I'm talking about, okay? So the as-is residential purchase contract is the main contract that most of us agents are using to submit offers on properties here in Florida. We typically, there are other purchase contracts, but for the most part, the main one that 99% of realtors will be using is going to be the as-is residential contract. That's for a couple of reasons, just because on the seller side, most of the time, repairs are, typically not really required or desired, to be honest. So a lot of sellers don't want to do a bunch of repairs and stuff. So most of them are using the as-is residential contract. Of course, everything's negotiable in real estate, as we all know. But however, this is going to be the main legal contract that we use as agents. So it is a 12-page contract. I suggest, if you have not looked at it, to either print it out or download a PDF copy onto your computer and just review those 12 pages on your own time. Because remember, your clients are going to be asking you questions about this paperwork. You're going to have to be able to explain this to people. And you just want to sound very knowledgeable and professional to every single person you deal with. So it's very, very important that you take the time and put the effort into actually reviewing these contracts on your own time, especially if you have not written one of these. You definitely want to either download it, print it out, and just learn what you're dealing with and what you're going to be having your clients signing. Okay. So now everybody should have access to Transaction Desk. This is the main system that we use here at Lifestyle International Realty, which is provided to every agent. If you have not done so, you need to email Carolina, that's Carolina with a K, at lifestyleintrrealty.com to get your login details to set up your Transaction Desk account. That's one of the first things you should be doing when you join us here at Lifestyle, is get your system set up. You cannot start working and taking clients unless you have your system set up to where you can access these contracts and also submit them for closings and for e-signing. Okay, so if you haven't referred to your new agent checklist, that is definitely something you need to get on, because there is a reason we created that for you guys, to help you consolidate everything you need in order to set up your business for future success. So make sure you get on that, guys, and make sure that you are following that checklist and that you are setting up your transaction desk. So by the time you do get a client, you'll be ready to go. All right. No excuses, no excuses. All right, guys. So let's just go ahead and get started. All right. Obviously, this is the main dashboard for Transaction Desk. Okay, this is the main agent dashboard, which is going to be the very top little, speedometer looking icon here. This is going to take you to your agent dashboard, which you will be able to see your transactions, your forms, and everything you've sent for e-signing. Okay, so I'm just going to start a sample one here. And today we are wearing our hat of being a buyer's agent. Okay, So just put yourself in a position where you have a client who wants to purchase a property. They called you up and they said, hey, Ben, I love this house. I want to submit an offer. Can you help me out? I don't want to miss out on this house. All right. So yeah, sure. Let's go. Let's do it. You discuss the offer, the amount after looking up some comps, which I hope you did. Do your due diligence before you just throw out numbers, guys. All right. You are the professional here. So maintain that professional courtesy to your clients and actually look up the numbers, guys. I'm not joking. Okay. Put in the effort. People will know. So after you look up the comps, you guys decide on a great number that you want to offer on the house. And now you got to get to work and start working on that offer. All right. So now we gotta do our part, our due diligence in order to make sure we submit this offer for our buyer. So we're going to start a brand new transaction on the buyer side. So you're going to click create transaction. And this is going to create a brand new transaction in transaction desk for you. Now in the name, you're going to want to put the subject property address. So I have a few listings. So I'm just going to use one of my listings as an example of a property that we're submitting an offer on. So let's just say, for example, I have a listing in Kissimmee right now at 260. I'm representing the buyer. I'm not the listing agent now. I'm putting on a different hat. I'm the buyer's agent and my buyer wants to submit. So I'm going to put the address here at 209 Magellan Drive. I like to put the full address just so I can always remember the actual address, okay? All right, so that is the address of my listing, but remember, I'm the buyer's agent. I'm not the listing agent, not right now at least. Okay, so you're gonna come under template, guys. This is very, very important, so pay close attention. When you pick the template that you put the transaction under, you have to make sure you pick the right one because there are different templates and checklists involved with each one. So you have to make sure you choose the correct template. That way you get the correct checklist of documents in order to submit for closing. So right now we're putting in an offer for a buyer on a residential sale. So we're gonna come down here to sales residential, okay? So I'm going to click on that. All right. And then import data. Now, if you want to make your life a lot easier, you can import the data directly from the MLS database. Now, this is only if it is on the market, active on the MLS. This does not apply to off-market properties or anything like that. Okay. So this is going to be only for active listings on the MLS. That you can choose Stellar MLS here, and then you can go ahead and import that data from the MLS directly into Transaction Desk. So that way you do not have to enter in all of the information manually. So you're going to want to put Stellar MLS, which is the MLS we use here in Orlando, and then you are going to want to put the actual MLS number here. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry, I'm looking for it. Okay. So you're going to want to put the MLS number 060322623. So to go over it one more time, 060322623. Okay. And add me as the selling agent. Okay. You have listing agent, you have selling agent, AKA buyer's agent. Selling agent is another way of saying buyer's agent because you are the one bringing the buyer. So you are the one who sold the property because you found the buyer. So you would be considered the selling agent. Don't get that confused with listing agent. It could be confusing at first. So make sure you understand that that also means buyer's agent. Then you click create here and you should have a brand new transaction in the system once it is done uploading. Okay, so it's telling me it cannot find the data for my listing. Let's see. Let's try. I think maybe that might be a 0. Give me 1 second. Does anybody want to unmute and ask any questions right now? Does anybody have any questions?
Is it always going to be Stellar MLS when you're doing the transfer of the information?
No, so I'm in Orlando, so it's going to say Stellar for me, just because that is the default MLS for Central Florida. But if you're in Miami, then I'm not sure what the name of the Miami one is, but that one should be the one that pops up in order to import the data directly from your guys' MLS, wherever you're at.
Okay.
So Stellar is obviously just for us here in Orlando. We're still new to lifestyle, but we got our 2 offices here. So don't forget about us in Orlando. We're doing big things here. We're doing big things. All right. So, all right, we come down here. As you can see, I just put a 0 instead of the letter O, which is why I wasn't finding the information. So I just had to go back and change that 0 to the actual letter O, and it found the information. So it basically just imported everything for me. As you can see, even the description is in here, list price, and all the stats about the house. So it makes it super simple. It makes your job easier. So just have those MLS numbers on deck if you are representing the buyer on the buyer side. Obviously, on the listing side, you would already have your own information in there if you're listing the property. So this is only on the buyer side, guys. So yeah, it's always good to have those MLS numbers ready to go, so you can just plug and play. Okay. So now over here, there should be on the right-hand side of your transaction desk a list of things. Okay. So you're gonna want to come here, and you're gonna want to click on forms on the right-hand side. Now, as you can see, we don't have anything in here yet. This is a brand new transaction, and we have not added any forms into here yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click here where it says add with the plus button in the right-hand corner. And you're gonna click that, and it should pop up a box that says add forms to transaction. All right. So we are obviously representing the buyer. So we're going to be using the main contract, which is going to be the as is residential contract. All right. So we're going to scroll down, and we're going to come here where it says FAR residential contract and addenda. So basically, FAR, these are attorney approved legal documents. So these are the ones that we are supposed to be using, which are approved by the attorneys and the bar association. So if you come here, you will see that you have all of these contracts. All right. And you're going to come here where it says as is residential contract for sale and purchase, Florida Realtors / Florida Bar. This is the main contract that we are all using and that we have been using for years. So get familiar with it, guys. They just made a few changes, I think last year, to it. So just always be aware, things can change, and stay up to date with your contracts. So here we're going to click on the bubble to the right. All right. And then we're going to come up here to the right-hand corner and click add. Now, once you do that, it should pop up here. And remember, this is a blank contract. All we have done so far is create the transaction in Transaction Desk, and we uploaded one of the forms here in the transaction. Okay. So now, if you want to come and click on the actual contract, it will open up, and you will have the contract here. Okay. And as you can see, it says as is residential contract for sale and purchase. This form has been approved by Florida Realtors and the Florida Bar. Okay. So let's get started. I'm going to use, let me think. Let's just say my client's name is Jessica Walters. Okay. So we're going to put the seller here, which you will be able to find this information directly either on the MLS or in the public records. Okay. So give me 1 second here. All right. So here we are going to put our sellers' names. So you can find that on the MLS under owner, or you might have to go either to the county records or the direct public records that is linked to the MLS. You should be able to find the actual legal names of the owners through one of those sources. All right. So I'm going to put here Joel M. Diaz. Okay, because that's my seller's legal name. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. All right. And then my buyer's name is Jessica Walters. Now, guys, it's very important to keep in mind that these need to be their legal names, which means the names they have on their state license issued ID, their passport, birth certificate, their professional license, whatever they have. It needs to be government issued, and that name needs to be the one on the contract. Okay, there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of scams going on nowadays. So I suggest if you are working with buyers, always ask for some sort of identification before you start submitting contracts for them, just to verify that that is the person you're really dealing with and that that is their real full legal name. Okay. So always make sure you know what their legal names are. And if you have to ask for ID, don't be shy. Just ask them for a copy, because you need to know their legal names in order to submit the contracts. So don't be shy about it, guys. Just be very straightforward and let them know that, you know, due to legal issues and stuff like that, you need to know their full legal name for the contract. Okay. So here we go. We have Joel M. Diaz. He is our seller here. And then we have Jessica Walters, who is my client, and she's trying to buy this house. All right. So as you can see, the system already plugged in the address and the tax ID and the legal description here. Mwah. So you don't have to do that. Normally you'd have to go and copy and paste back and forth, copy, paste back and forth. So just save yourself the time doing that by putting in the MLS number, so you can save yourself lots of time, because it'll just plug everything in for you here. Okay, so now we're going to come to part D, which is personal property. This is going to be referring to what is actually included in the sale that is not directly attached to the property. So this is going to be like the refrigerator, the washer dryer, the dishwasher, microwave, the range hood, any water softening systems or filters that have been added, solar panels that may have been added to the property. I mean, just stuff that you can take from the property that are not attached. Okay, so you're definitely going to want to make sure you get this correct, because some sellers are different than others. So it already has built in for you. If you read carefully, it says the following items, which are owned by seller and existing on the property as of the date of the initial offer, are included in the purchase. Now pay attention. It says these things are included in the purchase. And that includes a range or oven, refrigerator, dishwasher, disposal, ceiling fan, light fixture, drapery rods, blinds, window treatment, smoke detectors, garage door openers, thermostats, doorbells, television wall mounts, television wall mounting hardware, security gate, and other access devices, mailbox keys, storm shutters, yada, yada. You guys get it. Okay, so all of that is built in already. Okay, so you don't have to go and put refrigerator here. You don't have to go and put dishwasher here. You don't have to go and put disposal here, because all of that's already included in this personal property paragraph. So the only things you would have to add in this line is, are they taking their washer and dryer, or is it coming with the sale of the house? What about the solar panels? What about, I don't know, water filtration systems? Are they taking that, or are they leaving it? I mean, you have the heat layer, the tankless water heaters. Those are things you want to add in there, because those are things that are not included in this paragraph of personal property. So say, for example, with this specific property, they are including washer and dryer. The sellers are leaving it there, and it's going to go with the sale of the house. So just to protect my buyer and make sure that they don't change their mind later on, I'm going to go ahead and add washer and dryer here to that line, just to ensure that everyone's on the same page, and that the buyer is going to get that washer dryer at closing, and that they won't take it with them. Okay. So I put washer dryer there. Everything else is included. Personal property is included in the purchase. Now, these are going to be any items that are excluded from the purchase. So say, for example, they bought a brand new fridge. They don't want to leave it behind. They want to take it with them to the new house. So they want the buyer to buy their own fridge. So you would put a refrigerator here, okay, if they were planning to take that with them. If they were planning to take the washer dryer, they were an expensive set. They really love their washer dryer, so they want to take it with them to the new house. Then instead of putting it here, you would put it down here where it says the following items are excluded from the purchase. So anything that they plan on taking that's at the property, that's not like furniture and stuff, you're going to want to put it here if they plan to take it, you know, at closing. Okay. Just so everyone's on the same page of what is included or not included in the sale. All right. Now we get to the juicy part, purchase price. Now, it's always very important to make sure that you talk to your client and look up the comps in the area, recent sales. You also want to look at active listings, pending listings. It's always good to do your market research in the area so that you can come up with the best price for you and your client. Okay. So we have this property listed at 260. So say, for example, I talked to Jessica. Jessica's approved for up to 275. She really likes the house. She wants to buy it for herself. But, you know, she looked at the comps, we kind of discussed over it, and she wants to submit at 255. Okay. So you know what? I said, sure, let's try it out. So we're going to submit an offer at 255. Okay. I always like to add the .00 because, you know, it's just the numbers. Okay. So we are going to submit an offer at 255,000. That is 5,000 below the list price. But with the way the market is now, we think we can negotiate that price a little bit. Okay. So initial deposit, guys, this is very important. Okay. As the representative for a buyer in the real estate market, you have to talk to them and let them know that a deposit is going to be required if their offer is accepted. Okay. Typically, you want that escrow deposit to be anywhere from 1 to 3%, typically, of the actual purchase price, guys. Okay, so it's always good to give your clients the heads up on this, especially if they're a first-time home buyer, guys. You have to explain these things to people. You have to set the plan in motion and let them know what to expect. That is your job. You don't want to call them up one day and say, hey, the offer got accepted. We're under contract. You ready to pay that $5,000? And they say, oh crap, I didn't even know I had to pay $5,000 after this offer got accepted. And then they don't have it or they're not ready. Then what do? You know, so make sure as a buyer's agent, you're always informing your clients to be ready to make that deposit, to be ready to do that inspection. As soon as those sellers sign the contract, you should already be planning with your client on them making the deposit and scheduling that inspection right away before the inspection period ends. So you have to do your due diligence, stay on top of it, and advise your clients appropriately. So make sure you're on that and make sure you are advising your clients on what to expect, okay? Communication is key, all right? You are their guide, you are their advisor, so you have to act like their guide and their advisor because they are depending on you to know what to do. Don't expect these clients to know what to do. Don't expect these clients to pay attention to deadlines because most likely they're not. That's your job. So make sure that you're paying attention to those deadlines and advising your clients appropriately. Okay. So let's just say, for example, she's going to put 1% down on this property. All right, guys. So I'm going to give her 3 days and I'm going to click this second box and I'm going to put 3 days here. And then I'm going to put $2,550 here that she's putting down in escrow. Okay. So now we have, she's offering 255. She plans to put a deposit of $2,550 and she's going to make that deposit within 3 days. It's also important to keep in mind, guys, that this 3 days is just 3 days. It's not business days. This is 3 days. So if on a Friday, your offer gets accepted and you put 3 days here, that means they only have till the end of the day, Monday, to make that escrow deposit to the title company. So if they need more time because it's a weekend, then you need to consider that and add an extra maybe day or two. You could do 4 days or 5 days, you know, depending on if the seller is willing to wait that long for the deposit. you don't want to keep the seller waiting too long either, because then they're not going to think you're a serious buyer. So I always put 3, unless it's a weekend, maybe I'll add an extra day, but I try not to do any more than 2 to 3 days. Okay. So make sure that that's understood. Now, in escrow agent name, here in Orlando, you have these sellers that typically choose the title company. In Miami, it's different. Miami, the buyers are choosing title over there, which is strange to me. That's weird, but that's just the way they do it. But here in Orlando, the sellers are choosing the title company. So this information should already be on the seller MLS for the most part. Okay, if you go on the listing on seller MLS, there's a section called closing agent. And that section is where you will find the information for the title company that the agent and the seller have chosen. So you should just be able to go and do a copy paste of that information into the actual contract. All right. So, make sure you fill out all of this information. This is very important for your client as the buyer's agent to understand who the title company is, how they can get in contact with them, and how they can make that deposit. So it's a very good idea to ask the listing agent. I always do this because, I'm used to it. But most listing agents, what they should be doing for you is as soon as they get that signed contract from the seller, they should be sending that signed contract to the title company and copying you on the same email to get you connected with the title company. This is what I do with every single buyer's agent that I work with. So as a good listing agent, they should be already CCing you on the email to title so that you can get in contact with them and start arranging that deposit for your buyer. However, not all listing agents are going to do that. They're not always considerate. So sometimes you have to do it on your own and make sure that you get a hold of the title company, either through phone or email, and make sure that they send the buyer the wire instructions or however else they can plan to pay. Okay. So don't always depend on the other agent to get you connected with the title company. Don't always depend on everybody else. Sometimes you have to take the initiative and do what you need to do. Okay. So let's just say, for example, we're using New World Title since they are our in-house title company with lifestyle. You're going to want to put New World Title here. And if you have a specific person that you work with, you can put their name here as well. I'm just going to use Jennifer Decker because I work with her. So I'm just putting her name here. Okay. And then you would want to put the address and the phone number here. That way, if your client looks back on this contract, they can find the contact information easily if they need to reach out to title for whatever reason. So make sure you have the title company, the phone number, the address, and the email. Okay, that's very important. I'm just making up the information here. You know what I mean? New World Title at newworld.com. I mean, that's probably not it. I'm just making it up. So don't take this information, anyways, but you get it. This is for additional deposit. That's not really that common of a situation. I wouldn't worry about that. Now, financing here, this is going to be under C, financing expressed as a dollar amount or percentage. So this basically is where you should be adding the amount that is going to be financed, not the amount that your client is going to pay, not the amount they're putting down, but the actual financed amount that the mortgage lender will be paying. All right, guys. So if you're not good at math, I suggest you use a calculator or go over it with somebody, double check your numbers. It's very important to get these numbers correct on the contract, guys, because it's a big deal for people and it's a big purchase. So make sure you're getting your numbers correct. All right. So let's just say 255. For example, Jessica Walters, my buyer client, she's approved for a conventional loan. This is just an example. She's approved for a conventional loan at 5%, okay, which is 5% down payment, which is a very common loan that a lot of people get approved for with better credit. So let's just say Jessica is approved for a conventional loan at 5% down payment, all right? So she's offering 255. We're going to multiply that by 0.05. Okay, that's going to give me 12,750, which is her down payment. And now I'm going to just subtract that from 255 again. which is the purchase price, and I'm getting 242,250. So that is the amount minus the down payment. So basically all I did was take 255,000 and I subtracted the down payment from that. And I got 242,250. That is the amount that is going to be financed on this deal, okay? So if you see down here where it says balance to close, it already calculated the balance to close for me, which is $10,200, okay? Now, before you move on, I always like to double check these numbers. You always want to start from the bottom here and add your way up, okay? So 10,200 plus 242,250 plus 2,550 equals 255,000. So if you add these numbers up all the way to the top, you should get the purchase price amount. That means you did your numbers right. That means you did your math right. All right. You got the deposit, you have the finance amount, and then you have the balance to close, which is basically going to be what your buyers owe at closing, which is the remainder of the down payment, because they already put 2,500 here in down payment. So the rest of the down payment is 10,200. So they have to pay that at closing. Okay. Now let's move on to the next part. Time for acceptance. Well, actually, let me stop. Does anyone have questions about anything so far? You can unmute. Anyone?
Will we know that, like, that they have the conventional loan or how much they're supposed to be putting down?
Yes, so you should be in direct contact with the mortgage lender that is working with the buyer. It's very important to work hand in hand with the lender to make sure you understand the exact loan they're approved for, the down payment and what it's going to be, and to make sure that you get the pre-approvals that you need when you are submitting offers. So you should be in direct contact with the lender from the very beginning, and they will be able to provide you all of this information, which you obviously need in order to submit these offers. So make sure you understand the loan, the down payment, and what the buyer capabilities are through the mortgage lender, okay?
And is there ever an occasion where maybe they have a conventional loan where they only have to put 5% down, but they want to put more?
Yeah, yes. If they plan to put down more just because they want to pay down the principal a lot more and have a lower monthly payment, they can absolutely do that if they have the funds to do so. So you can just put whatever percentage they plan to pay. So for example, they're approved for 5% down, but they want to put 10% down. You would just change the numbers and multiply everything by that 10%. So you would multiply 255 by 10%, and then you would subtract that, and the rest of that would be balance to close, basically. So it would just be about changing the numbers. So if they came and told you they wanted to put 10% down, you would just do the math according to that down payment.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. All right, so we shall digress, everyone. Time for acceptance of offer and counter offers. This is very important, guys, because this is going to be when this specific offer expires. Every offer has an expiration date, of course. You don't want to waste too much time waiting on offer responses from listing agents either, especially if your client is on a tight timeline. Always make sure you understand the timelines of your buyers. Some need to move right away. Some are just browsing, taking their time, and some have a specific date in the future that they need to buy. So make sure you understand the time frame for your buyers. That's one of the most important questions when I talk to buyers. I always ask, when are you trying to move? What is your target date? When is your lease ending? When do you need to be out? Make sure you understand these things when you're dealing with buyers. It's very, very important to understand that. All right. So in the time for acceptance, you're going to want to put, I usually don't give people any more than 48 hours. That's kind of my rule of thumb. Of course, you don't have to use my rule of thumb, but this came from more experienced agents that I used to work with. They told me not to give them any more than 2 days. You don't want to give them too much time to mull over it and potentially get other offers as well. So a lot of agents are either doing 1 or 2 days. So for me, I usually do 2 days. Okay. So today is Friday, the 5th. So let's just say we're going to give them 2 days. So that would be until the 7th, which is basically this Sunday. Okay. So I'm going to put, well, actually, I'm just going to click the little calendar here, make it easier. And then I'm going to click August 7th here. So basically this means at midnight on August 7th, this offer will be expired. If that's the case, it doesn't mean they can't still work with you, but you will have to update the time for acceptance on your contract, just to make sure you are in compliance, because once an offer expires, it's invalid. So make sure you change the dates. You know, even if it's past the time, just go ahead and update the contract and have your client initial on the change. Okay. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Anytime you need to add or change anything to a contract that's already signed by both parties, you need to make sure you stay compliant by having each client initial on any changes that you or the listing agent make. Okay, it's very important. You always have to work, fairly and honestly, which means that's license ethics, so which means you have to disclose any changes on that contract. You can't just go and change stuff and not tell anybody. All right. So if you change stuff on the contract, just make sure you resend it and put a little initial line right next to the change on the contract. All right. So now we're going to get to closing date. Okay. If you come down here, you see that it says the closing of this transaction shall occur when all funds required for closing are received, yada, 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 yada. Okay. So closing, if it's a cash sale, you can close fairly quickly. You can do, a week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most. I mean, cash sales usually are a lot faster. But in this case, we are dealing with financing. As I told you earlier, Jessica is approved for conventional. So we are dealing with a mortgage lender. So typically when you have financing, you're looking at around 30 to 45 days max. 45 days is a long time. I wouldn't recommend to put 45 days because a lot of sellers are not going to want to wait that long, especially if they're very motivated to sell. So I wouldn't do any more than 30, 35 days is the typical time frame that we're using here. Okay. So let's just say we're going to do 30 days out. She already submitted all her documents. Our lenders are really experienced. They're fast. They can close in less than 30. So we're just going to put 30 days. All right. So we're going to click here. We're going to go to September. Okay. And then we're going to click, what day did we put for acceptance? 8/7. So I always go by the acceptance date. So if they accept by the 7th, a month would be September 7th. So we're going to put September 7th, 2022. Okay. So now we have an acceptance date, and then we also have a closing date. All right. Which gives them about 30 days from time of acceptance. So now we're going to keep going. There's really nothing to fill out in this part. You're going to come to assignability. Assignability is very important. This means basically that nobody else is responsible for the terms of this contractual agreement besides your client. So you're going to want to put may not assign this contract, which basically means your buyer client cannot transfer the obligations of this contractual agreement to anybody else. It's their responsibility to pay, it's their responsibility to close on the sale. So I'm going to put may not assign this contract. You will have maybe like wholesale deals, off-market deals that may be a little different. Typically they provide their own contracts though, so you don't really have to worry about that. So for the most part, you're going to be using may not assign this contract. All right. All right. So financing, basically, this is very important. You have to put what type of financing you're dealing with here. So we're going to put this contract is contingent upon conventional loan right here. So you have conventional, FHA, VA, or other. So if you're dealing with a hard money loan, a USDA loan, private money, you're going to want to click other and just put in the description here what type of financing it is. Of course, if it's cash, you would not click here. You would click A, which is cash, which means there's no financing contingency. I'm not going to really get into what a financing contingency is because I don't really have time. But it's basically, this sale, this transaction, this agreement is contingent upon my client getting approved for this loan. All right. So that protects my client because there is that contingency built in with the financing already. And typically it's going to be 30 days. It says here if blank 30 days. So I'm going to leave it blank. I usually do because that's about the time it takes to make sure that the buyer is completely qualified and has all their documents. Okay. And here we're going to check one. This is about the interest rate. Remember, we are not mortgage lenders. Okay. We do not advise people on interest rates. Remember that so you don't get in trouble. All right. Leave that to the mortgage lenders. Okay. So I'm just going to check here fixed because the majority of buyers are using fixed rate loans. You know, you will sometimes have an ARM, which is an adjustable rate mortgage. That's a whole different story. You know, I've dealt with that, but I mean, if that's the case, you would just want to click adjustable here rather than fixed. Okay. Let's keep going. All right. Buyer shall make application for financing within 5 days. Typically your buyer should have already done that before even putting in this offer. All right. So don't worry about that. Okay. You're going to keep scrolling down to where it says closing costs, fees, and charges. Now, A is cost to be paid by seller. B is cost to be paid by buyer. We are obviously representing the buyer in this case. And here I always add my $395 transaction fee. I never pay that out of pocket. You guys should not be paying that out of pocket. We already spend way too much money to do this career. Just charge your clients. Okay. So we're going to add here 395 and then I put transaction fee to lifestyle. Now, the reason I'm so specific with my wording is because people get very wary when it comes to extra fees. All right. You have to make sure your clients understand what that $400 is going to. This is not just an extra charge that you're saying, hey, give me $400 because I'm your buyer's agent. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to explain to them, hey, this is a $395 transaction fee that my company charges on every single sale. So every buyer and seller have to pay this in order to do business through the brokerage. That's how I explain it. Usually people have no issues paying that. I've never really had kickback on that. So if you need better ways to explain that, you can reach out to me. You know, it's all about how you say things. Remember that. So I put cost to be paid by buyer and I put 395 transaction fee to lifestyle. So nobody can come back and argue with me that, oh no, I never saw that. I was never aware of that. No, I didn't agree to that. Yes, you did. You agreed to it right here. Ta-da. Okay, so title evidence and insurance in part C. This is typically going to be on the title company to provide a owner's policy, basically ensuring clear title. Okay, so that is definitely not your job. That's going to be on the title company to provide the insurance of clear title on the property. You will sometimes have problems with HOA or liens or, you know, unpermitted things, stuff like that. You know, I've dealt with that before, but typically you're just going to work that out with the seller and the title company to do whatever you have to do to remedy those issues. But, you know, as of right now, we're going to look at this as a traditional sale, no issues with title, and we're just going to leave it blank, which is 15 days. That basically gives the seller and title 2 weeks to provide a clear title to the buyer. Okay. And typically the sellers are going to pay the owner's policy. All right. But what I've been seeing in the market lately is a lot of people have been trying to negotiate actually paying for the owner's policy for the seller. That's a new way to negotiate that I've been seeing quite a lot. I've also gotten a few offers on listings offering to pay for the owner's policy. So if that's like a strategy you want to use to get your offer accepted in a tough market, you can do that. But for the most part, the sellers are going to be paying that. Okay. So we move on to the next page. Here you have check one. Seller shall designate closing agent, buyer shall designate closing agent. Obviously here in Orlando, sellers are choosing title, like I said earlier. So we're going to click the first box that the seller has chosen the title company. Okay. If for whatever reason you negotiated your own title company as the buyer's agent, or you're in Miami where they buyers choose, you would choose this option. Or I think, oh, they have an option for Miami right here. But for us in Orlando, it's going to be sellers. So click the first box. Okay. Now you're going to come down here, also part E, which is home warranty. Some agents like to purchase home warranty for their clients as a closing gift or as just an insurance, you know, just to give more comfort to the buyers. So if you want to do that, you can click that, you know, the buyer, you'll be buying the buyer's home warranty or the seller. But I usually don't. So I'm just going to put NA, not applicable. Okay, because I'm not paying for warranty for nobody. So that's just me. You guys want to do that? That's up to you. That's up to you. So special assessments here, you're going to pay, you got to check one. Seller shall pay installments due prior to closing. Buyer shall pay installments due after closing. This is typically the one we're choosing. Basically, you know, in a nutshell, this is saying the seller is responsible for any liens, encumbrances, installments before closing, and the buyer is responsible after closing. Okay, so I'm just going to choose here, seller's responsible before closing, buyer's responsible after closing. Okay, then we're going to keep going. Disclosures, you don't have to put anything there. You're going to want to keep scrolling. This has to do with actual disclosures. Remember, if there's a homeowners association, you have to include that HOA disclosure in your offer. If the property is older than 1978, then you do have to include also a lead-based paint disclosure. Okay, and you'll have to have your client sign off on that. Remember that a lot of these listing agents, at least the good ones like me, we include these attachments in the MLS. So if you go and click a tiny little paperclip that you see on the top in Stellar MLS, there will be attachments there from the listing agent if they have included that. So a lot of the times you will find the HOA disclosure there. You can find the lead-based paint disclosure there, already signed by the sellers. And you would just have to download it and send it to the buyer to sign where the buyers need to sign. And you would attach that to the offer and send it off when you're ready. So make sure that you check the MLS attachments to make sure that if the docs are already there signed by sellers, you just use those instead. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Now, this is very important. Property inspection right to cancel. I'm sure probably many of you may know that the inspection period is also considered the cancellation period. For any reason, it doesn't matter. It could be because they don't like the color of the door. It doesn't freaking matter, okay? They can cancel for any reason within this time frame, all right? I usually don't take any more than 5 days on my listings. But you know, a lot of people try to do 7 to 10. It just depends on what the seller will agree to. Okay. But the most common that we're seeing now is 5 to 7 days inspection. You don't want to waste too much time because you want to show the sellers that you're serious. So if you're trying to get 10 to 15 days inspection, they might not accept that just because, you know, you're dragging your feet, and that's a couple weeks that they're losing on the market in case you cancel. So you got to think about it from that perspective. So, you know, I would only put maybe 5 days or less on this. So for Jessica, she wants to do an inspection. So I'm just going to put in there 5 days and hope that the sellers agree to 5-day inspection. So that means within these 5 days, the buyer can cancel or negotiate, you know, if they choose to. And after the 5 days, obviously inspection period has ended, okay? And they don't have that luxury anymore to cancel with no consequences, all right? So make sure you explain that to the buyers as well, that that's their protection period, all right? So we're gonna keep going, we're gonna keep going, we're gonna keep going. You like my song, guys? All right, nothing here, nothing here. So keep in mind, this is a very long contract. Not every page has something that you need to fill out, okay? 12 pages does sound like a lot, but not every page has something that you have to fill in, So let's keep going. So yeah, definitely go through all of this on your own time. Like I said, it's very important to understand this contract because this is the most common contract that you will see in real estate. So now this is the second to last page. We're on page 11 of 12. So this is basically the second to last page of the purchase contract, and this is going to include all of the addenda. So say, for example, with this specific property, there's a homeowner's insurance. So I'm going to click the homeowner's insurance because I'm going to include that disclosure in there. All right. And that's it. There's really nothing else here that I'm including. But for example, if you had to do lead-based paint, you would click this one here. If the property was built in 1970, you would have to include that. So just click it there. You know, if you're doing a post-closing occupancy, you guys negotiated for the sellers to stay a little longer after closing, you can just click that and include that addendum in there. So if you have an appraisal contingency because your buyers don't want to pay any more than appraisal, then you would just, you know, click that and include the appraisal contingency in the contract as well. Okay. So just keep that in mind. But I'm only going to include the homeowners here. Okay. Now here we have on the last page, page 12, you have additional terms. So this is basically an open box to where you can add any additional terms that may not be in the actual contract yet. So there's many situations, many negotiations, many different things you can put here depending on the situation. There's many different situations in real estate, as a lot of you may know already. So, you know, it just depends on what's going on with the client and with the seller. But just say, for example, the seller agreed to pay, I don't know, $1,500 towards the buyer's closing costs, you know, because they negotiated that. They really, really want to sell the house. They're super motivated. So they decided, you know what, we're going to help the buyer out and we're going to give them $1,500 towards their closing costs. Okay. You would just add that here. Seller agrees to pay $1,500. Why did I put zeros there? Sorry. There we go. Towards the buyer's closing costs and prepaids. Sorry, give me a second. At the closing of the subject property. So always remember to be very, very, very specific in your wording so that there is no room for error or misinterpretation there. So say, for example, you were able to negotiate a credit from the seller for your buyers. Good buyers agents can do that in this market now because things have slowed down. Sellers are getting more desperate. So we are starting to see, you know, seller concessions coming back like they were pre-pandemic. Seller concessions were actually really popular. So we're going back to that, guys. So this is going to be more of a common situation that you're going to start seeing now is sellers actually giving concessions again, which is great for the buyers, honestly. So yeah, so say, for example, you were able to negotiate a $1,500 credit at closing to the buyer. Okay, so you would just add that here in the additional terms, be very specific in the wording, make sure you address each party because this agreement is between buyer and seller. Every contract agreement is between a buyer and a seller, you know, so make sure you understand that you have to write very specific terms when it comes to an agreement between two parties so that there's no room for error, okay? So I put here, seller agrees to pay $1,500 towards the buyer's closing costs and prepaids at the closing of the subject property. So basically, this is just saying that the seller is agreeing to cover $1,500 of the buyer's closing costs at the closing of the sale, okay? Then down here, you have the very end of the contract, which the buyer will sign and date here. Make sure that this is all correct at the bottom, guys. This is very, very important. So as the buyer's agent, I am the cooperating sales associate, and the cooperating broker is going to be, of course, Lifestyle International Realty. Now it's automatically going to plug in the information that you have here in Transaction Desk. So you want to make sure that your settings on Transaction Desk has the right email, the right brokerage, all that, so that when it automatically plugs these things in, they're correct. Also, you want to make sure your email is updated so that you get the copies of the signed contracts in your email once everybody signs. So make sure you double check this information on the last page. I have my name here, and then I have my brokerage here. As the buyer's agent, you should be on the left-hand side. If you're the listing agent, however, then you would be on the right-hand side. Obviously, we're using my listing, so it just popped in my information automatically there as the listing agent because it already pulled that information from the MLS. So it should be plug and play, guys. It should already have the listing agent's brokerage and info here, and then it should have your information on the left-hand side if you're representing the buyer, okay? So that's the last page. Once you are done plugging everything in this contract, number one, you want to double check it. Stop rushing. This is a big purchase, big numbers, a lot of money involved. Double check your work. I tell everybody this, and I will say it over and over again till the day I die. Double check, triple check your work even. Make sure that everything is correct, all right? And once everything is correct, you're gonna wanna go ahead and send that off for signing to your buyer. So once we reviewed the contract and we said, okay, everything looks good, we're gonna come up here and click the little pen at the top where it says sign. And then it's going to ask you if you want to create a signing session. You're going to click yes. It's going to take this contract into a signing session for you with all of the information you already plugged in. So here you can change the name if you want. It just plugged in the property address and then as is. I like to shorten it just because I don't really like a lot. So I'm just going to put 209 Magellan Drive as is, okay? And then you're going to want to come here where it says participants in step 2, and you are going to want to add your client information if you don't already have it in here. My client is Jessica Walters, and she's going to be signing everything through email, so I'm going to keep it as remote signer and click add at the top. Now it added Jessica Walters as a remote signer, okay? However, her information is not here, which is the email, which is the most important part. So you're going to have to click that red exclamation point. Okay. It says this participant is missing required information. Then you click close and a little thing should pop up where you can add the info. Takes a little bit, guys. So now I'm going to add Jessica's email here. So let's just say it's Jess Walters 91. Let's just say it's Jess Walters 91 at gmail.com. Okay, so you have her full name, the email. Make sure you have this information from your client because you will need it to send it for e-signing, I'm sorry. So make sure you have their email and their full name before you start any of this, all right? Then you're gonna click save participant. So now it has added her email in there. So now it's gonna send all of these documents to this email that I just put. Step 3 is going to be documents. Now it's showing the as-is residential contract for sale and purchase, okay? So if I want to go ahead and add any other documents to this besides the purchase contract, I can go here and click add documents. And if I click here, 209 Magellan Drive, the very first one, it's going to take me to the actual attached documents from the MLS, which is super, super convenient. You don't have to go to the MLS and download them yourselves. You just come here and it already has them available for you under the documents from Magellan Drive because it imported them from the MLS. So it's very important to import whenever you can, especially if you're on the buyer side, guys. So you see they have declarations here, which is the HOA docs, and then I have the seller's property disclosure. So say I wanted to add the disclosure in there to have the buyer sign, which they should be signing the seller's disclosure. Okay. I just added the seller's disclosure in there. So now I'm going to have the purchase contract and the seller's disclosure. It's going to merge it into one signing for you. Okay. So if you wanted to keep adding, you could add no more documents if you want. You can also change the order of how they appear. Obviously, we're going to keep the purchase contract first. Okay. So I just have those two documents now. Then you're going to click step 4, which is a design. So this is basically the part where you're going to be adding signatures, initials, and all that good stuff. So this is basically where you set everything up for your client to sign. As you can see, it has the seller, the buyer, the contract we filled out. And if you look, it actually plugs everything in for you, which is great because you can see here, it already added Jessica Walters' initial in the buyer's initial line. Keep in mind that your client has to initial at the bottom of every single page. And then they also have to sign and date on the very last page. It's very important to not miss signatures or initials because the contract is not valid unless you have every initial and signature, okay? So I'm going to check to make sure that the initial box is on the bottom of each page where the buyer needs to initial. So here, buyer's initial, look good. We're just going to scroll through, make sure that there's an initial box on the buyer side. Okay. I'm doing a class, baby. Sorry, my son. All right, so we're checking here. We got initial boxes. All right. So it's looking good. The system already plugged and played for us. So we have our additional terms, and then it added a signature box and auto date here. So it added it in the buyer line, and then that's it. It added everything in for you. If you had to do it yourself though, because it didn't plug it in, or say the property is not on the MLS, you could come up here in the top right corner where it says drag and drop. And this is where you find all of your boxes. This is our initial boxes here. This is our signature boxes here. And the stamp with the calendar is the auto date, which you will have to add as well. If you need to add any text to the actual contracts, you can do that too by clicking this text and just typing in what you need to add in there. Okay, like any missing information, you can do it that way. Okay. So if you come down, you can see that it also attached the seller's property disclosure, which by Florida law, sellers have to disclose the condition of the property if they have lived in the property, okay? So yes, my clients have lived in the property, they signed the seller's disclosure, and then they would just have to initial and sign. Just the same as the purchase contract. So as you see, there's a sign or a space for buyer here to sign, print, and date. So you can just add signature box here. You can type out their name to print it here and then add an auto date over here and send that off, and make sure you don't forget the initials at the bottom as well. This one is wrong. I just want to let you know, this is not correct. This should have been on this side. I didn't do this, guys, so don't look at me funny. This was not me. I'm working with somebody else, but yeah, this is not correct. These initials should have been here on the seller side, and then your buyer would initial on the left-hand side. So just keep that in mind. Once you add all of your initial boxes, your signature boxes, your dates on the contract, then you can send it off for signing by clicking next up here. Okay. And then it's going to ask you, you have successfully completed the creation of the signing. Do you want to send the invitations off? Which basically means you're sending it off for signing. So you can customize the invitations. I usually don't though. So I just usually click send invitations and boom, that's it. You just sent your first offer for signing to your buyer. So once the actual client initials and signs everything, a transaction desk is going to send you an email with those documents that you can download with the signatures on them. So once you get that email, it's gonna give you a link where you can access the document with the signatures. You click that and download the form, and then you would attach that along with their pre-approval from the mortgage lender in an email to the listing agent. So I'm gonna open up a brand new email. I'm gonna type, hello, my name is Jennifer Angulo with Lifestyle Realty. I represent Jessica Walters in the purchase of her new home. She's very qualified. She's been looking, yada, yada. This is what she's looking for. It's her dream home. Talk it up, be corny, you know what I mean? Like stand out, in this market, you can't have no shame, and you have to stand out, and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to stand out from other buyers and convince those sellers that your client is the best. So make sure that you're talking them up in the email, attach the offer, and also make sure you attach the pre-approval from the lender. because you always need proof of funds. And then once you finish typing up your email and you attach those docs, send it off to the listing agent. Make sure you follow up either with a call or a text and let them know, hi, so-and-so, I'm Jennifer with Lifestyle Realty. I just submitted an offer to you on property 209 Magellan Drive. Please let me know you received it. We would love to hear back from you. Always be polite, you know, and always follow up. Follow up is key. You want to make a good impression on the listing agent. You want to show them that you're responsible. You want to show them that you're diligent, and you want to show them that you know what you're doing. Because as listing agents, I'll tell you, we don't want to work with people who don't know what they're doing. We don't want to work with people who have excuses as to why they can't do this or that. We don't want to work with people who can't, you know, write a contract correctly. So make sure you know what you're doing and make sure you're as professional as possible. That's how you're going to, you know, best represent your buyers in this market. Okay. So yeah, I've been talking a lot. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's been over an hour. So I just kind of want to end it here and ask if anybody has any questions about anything we went through. You can unmute and ask your questions or put it in the chat.
I had a question. I want to ask if I see as is in the MLS, that means I need to use a contract that say as is?
Yes. I mean, for the most part, we're using as is contracts on every property.
Tell me.
Somebody asked if this will be recorded. Yes, this is being recorded. I can't tell you when it's going to be uploaded, you know, but hopefully soon. Should be available on our YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked it out, we're on YouTube, Lifestyle International Realty. There's tons of training videos that were all recorded on Zoom. Check that out in your own time. It's free, so why not take advantage, right?
Jennifer, you might have covered this, but when you send this out, is it being sent out to both the seller and the buyer?
No. So when it comes to, you know, the pre-approval, the contract, you are just going to be sending that to the listing agent. Some cases there will be more than one listing agent, so you would add both of the listing agents on there. But for the most part, it's only going to be to the listing agent. You can copy your mortgage lender on the email if you want, just to keep them in the loop of what's going on. That'll make it easier on you, so you don't have to follow up with the lender and tell them everything that's happening, because they also have to be in the loop of what's happening with the buyer so that they can be ready to start processing the loan if they need to right away, and ordering the appraisal and all that good stuff. So really the main people you want to consider here when you're submitting offers is the listing agent and your mortgage lender. This is of course on the buyer side.
Okay, but now, like, once you did this on transaction desk and you send out the invite, that's being sent out to your buyer so that they can sign, and then later to the listing agent, so their seller can sign.
Yes, exactly. So the signing session that I created for Jessica Walters, that's my buyer. So I'm sending that paperwork to her to sign, basically from the buyer's side. Okay. And then once she signs, I would go ahead and download that document and send that to the actual listing agent. And if they decide to accept the offer, then the seller would sign off on it and you guys would go pending.
Got it. And that's what you were explaining, was when you email the listing agent, that's when you're explaining to them, you know, like, hi, I'm so-and-so representing so-and-so. And that's where you would go into the more detail and get corny about how much this is like your customer's dream house, right? Because I missed that part.
Yeah. No, you got it. You got it.
All right,
yeah.
cool.
The signing session is just for the buyer, but then the actual email with the proof of funds to the listing agent, that's just the listing agent, and you're basically just submitting the offer to them.
Got it. And they're only going to sign if they accept it, obviously.
Of course, yeah, but a lot of the times you will have counter offers. They might come back and say, hey, you know, we don't want to do, we can't do 30 days. The seller needs more time. We can do 40-day closing. So then you would just renegotiate the closing date, come back to your buyer and say, hey, they want 40-day closing instead of 30. Are you okay with that? And Jessica will be like, yeah, of course, I'm not in a hurry. That's fine with me. Let's just move forward. Perfect, cool. Hang up, call the listing agent. They're okay with extending closing 10 more days. You would just change that on the contract and have the buyer initial on that change of date, and then send that back to the listing agent so that the sellers can sign off and you guys can go under contract.
Excellent. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns or feedback? No, nobody. Everyone's ready for happy hour later? Y'all ready for the weekend, right? All right, y'all, just let you know, I'm doing an open house tomorrow in Kissimmee. If y'all got any buyers, hit me up, let me know. I have that house listed at $260,000. All right, single family home, 3-2, about 1,250 square feet. So if you have a buyer, let me know, hit me up. If not, then I hope everybody has a great weekend. Be safe out there, y'all. And then, yeah, if you need anything, I'm Jennifer, the branch manager here in downtown Orlando. I'm always here, Monday through Friday, typically. You can also reach out to me through WhatsApp or through call or text. I'm here for y'all. And lifestyle is too. All right, guys. Well, I'm getting out of here. I got some stuff to do. I got to create some marketing for my open house tomorrow. So I got to go, guys. But I hope you all enjoyed. I hope this was helpful, and peace and love, baby. Bye.